Winter bird food, that's the next action to talk through and think about. So you've done your plan, you've got your blocks around the farm of where you might want to position things, and on this farm this is a really great place for positioning winter bird food. It's surrounded by tall rangy hedges and a piece of woodland, and it's actually facing towards the southeast, so it gets plenty of sunlight. But on this particular farm it's a really poor piece of soil, it's a really awkward piece to get in and out of and actually to work properly, and it's been in winter bird food for the last 15 years. The position we're in now with this block is it's just ready to cultivate, and it'll be drilled shortly to get it into a seed mix for the coming year. So why would you actually put winter bird food in? For me, it's actually probably one of the most important actions to do with any of these schemes. Through the winter months, seed supply is really short, and the majority of birds on our farmland are granivorous, so they eat grain and they eat seed. So what you're doing is you're growing a variety of plants that provide seed through the winter months for birds to feed on. So you need it to actually be bearing seed, the seed to be fit to eat from November through to the end of January as a bare minimum. So usually you want 6 seed bearing plants. They need to be drilled and established in June. That means that they'll actually get their seed, they'll be seed bearing right the way through the winter months. And lots of research has shown you need that variety of seed. So you'll need oil bearing seeds, you'll need cereals, and having that variety helps birds get through the winter months. In addition to that, you probably need to supplementary feed. So it's another action that sits within agri-environment schemes. It's also one of those actions that can be funded through supply chain partners. So that seed in a seed mix you've drilled will inevitably run out by the time you get to the middle of January. Birds still need supplementary food all the way through to the middle of April. So supplementary feeding is scatter feeding, oil seeds, things like oilseed rape, things like millet, and to feed wheat, barley and cereal seeds, and scatter it on these plots through the latter half of the winter so that birds are fit and healthy to go into the breeding season. And that's a really important function of agri-environment schemes and private funding. So for these winter bird food plots, then what you normally be looking at to gain maximum delivery for wildlife is about 2% of your farmed area down to these plots. That won't suit everybody, it won't work for everybody, it'll be too much for some. The most important thing is that you establish them well and that you manage them through their 6-month lifespan. So we're just walking through here, a plot that's in its final throes of being cultivated, ready for drilling in the next 10 days or so. And the key things to think about here are when you establish them, you actually need to think about soil temperature and moisture rather than dates and timings. So for most winter bird food mixes, soil temperature needs to be up above 10 degrees day and night. And that won't always happen by the second week in May or the first week in June. So be driven by soil temperature, things that make the seed germinate and grow properly. You also need to have some moisture. So when you're going through the process of establishing and cultivation, make sure you roll after each cultivation, which they'll be doing as the next operation on here, to maintain the moisture, so that you're giving these plots and the seed mixes the best possible chance to establish. There's then, what do you choose to actually put in the mix? Now that's a really wide-ranging topic. You can do mixes that are annual, and they generally consist of cereal-based seeds, things like triticale, barley, wheat, millets. You can do 2-year mixes, so you might be looking at things like kale, you might be looking at chicory, you might be looking at perennial rye. It's really important that you choose the right mix for your soil type, that you consider the weed burden on the plot, because you may well need to go in and use a herbicide to keep them clean. The most important thing is plot aspect and plot size. You need to be able to get to the plot. You don't want it onto the north facing side of a woodland. Just because it's the highest paying action in most of these schemes, you need to make it work. Onto the north facing side of a woodland, it's going to be cold, it's going to be dark, it's not going to grow properly. If you can't grow a crop there, you won't be able to grow winter bird food. So again, it goes back to your planning and back to the planning process of taking awkward, difficult corners out, but corners that you can get to. You've still got to be able to cultivate it, you've still got to be able to drill it, and in some cases you might need to spray it. If you can get to that point, these are absolutely fantastic, and you'll see the difference within 2 years to the bird life on your farm. For more help and advice, you can find our 8-step approach to funding sustainable farming on our website.